a number of improvements on this issue of the drivers will happen. Number one, there will be a shift of cargo from the trucks to the railway and to the barges on the lake. This will happen. It's just a matter of time. After all, the train is cheaper and the water transport is cheaper. And these trucks also, apart from being expensive, they also damage the roads. So the days of the trucks may be numbered. They may go away. But let us first get reliable alternative transport, and then the trucks may fizzle out. In the meantime, the testing of drivers from the point of origin will solve this problem. Because if they are tested and they are found negative, they don't come. So you may find that we have zero, we don't have any problem anymore. And they are tested two times every 14 days. They are tested. And once they are tested at the point of origin, then they are also controlled en route. In the past, because we had no problem, we had a lot of laxity, which was all right. When there's no war, people live freely. Nobody was bothering to put drivers in one place. They would sleep wherever they wanted, in the lodges. And that was supporting our economy, because they don't sleep there for nothing, they pay. So it was not a problem. But when now that it has become a problem, that's how we have woken up and said, no. Don't just stop anywhere, stop in a few selected places. And then the drivers were saying, but there is no food. And we were saying, no, that's part of the problem. Because if we allow you to buy food wherever you want, then you will cause a problem. Now, therefore, the government will now arrange for, first of all, isolated stop points, what they call seclusion points, and then they can arrange provisions for food there, with people who are putting on masks, who know how to take precautions, and who are also monitored. So the truck drivers will be tested at the point of origin and monitored and controlled en route. Moreover, the testing we mandatorily carry out at the borders exposes all those infected, and we treat them. So there is no need for panic, because we are testing them. That's how we're discovering them. We are testing them, and that's how we know they are sick. And therefore, once we test them, we follow the people they contacted. That's how you get also some cases internally here. So really, there is no need for panic. What we are doing is in order. Up to today, a total of 14 drivers from outside, 5 Tanzanians, 2 Kenyans, no, a total of 15 drivers. 5 Tanzanians, 2 Kenyans, and 8 Ugandans have been cured. Yeah. They've been cured. Why? Because we tested them, discovered that they had a virus, we confined them, and we treated them, and they have got cured and gone away. If we were not testing, they would have mingled with the population, and they would have caused a lot of problems. So the finding the drivers positive should not cause you panic. Actually, it should, you should say, oh yeah, because we test 1,000 something, you find, okay, the other day there were like 24 Ugandans and 31 others. So yesterday together it was 55. Out of 1,000 something. It's a good work. It's good work. It's working. The kakunguta, the filter is working. The filter of testing. When people hear new say, "Ngat for the wanangi," no. We have discovered them. That's why the testing is to discover. Sikutomera, not go blindly. No. And those 55 of yesterday, 31 non-Ugandans, 24 Ugandan drivers. We are from a big number of 1,000 or something like that. So that means the others are all right. That means the others are all right. Omanyeze namanyira ebyentalo. As long as I have the ammunition, I have no problem. We can fight for whatever time you want. Kubanga nina ebyokukozesa. Okweraliikirira kwandewedewo singa tetulina byakukozesa. Bwe mbeera n'amasasi, siba nakukopa kwonna oba okweraliikirira. Therefore, this necessary need of allowing the truck drivers to continue coming is manageable, and their services are indispensable. Tesobola obutakozesa abantu bano okujjako bwe tunaamala okutereeza ebyegaali y'omukka. Singa ebyegaali y'omukka bitereera n'ebyemmeeri ey'omu nnyanja wano, tugenda kusiibula ab'emmotoka. Naye kati tubeetaaga. Owing to the problem of the truck drivers, here below are the curves of Uganda. First of all, the total number of cases. Mugenda kuzirabako in the TV. The total number, the 457 in 75 days. The way they have been occurring akasitaala ako kalondoola nti ennaku z'omwezi 20 mu Maachi baali bwe bati olunaku lwaddako like that 75 days now. The second graph is the one of the ones who got healed. And the third one is the one is zero, the ones who died. Omuso bakoba ati tuzira mufu tuzira omuntu afiira okoze tuzira afiire. We don't have anybody who has died. So that's why you see on that screen our curve there is a straight horizontal line. And even the other curves, the curve of Uganda is far below the curves of the other countries. You can show all the other countries there. Having dealt with the issue of the truck drivers, I now go to the issue of the disease itself. As I said the other week, there are three ways of how we deal with the diseases: vaccination, treatment by having the medicine that attack the virus directly, like the case of Tamiflu that kills the virus that causes influenza, which blocks enzymes which are required for the virus to multiply, or Epivir, which is used in combination with other antiretrovirals to treat HIV by again blocking the enzyme that is crucial for the replication of that virus, or supporting the body to kill the virus using its white blood cells, antitoxins, and antibodies. So that is the first way. First one is vaccination. The second method of fighting the disease is using drugs which attack the virus, or supporting the body to attack the virus. And then the third way is avoiding the disease by not shaking hands, by wearing masks, by not touching your soft parts like the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, by washing your hands with soap and sanitizers, by social distancing, by avoiding crowding your population groups, etc., etc. This is now avoiding. So amakuba gali asatu: okugema, banyankole bakiyita okusirika, endwadde ezimu bazigema. The second way is okujanjaba, treating is treating, okujanjaba. Ate okujanjaba kulina enjuyi bbiri. Waliwo amadagala agattira ddala akawuka, naye ate waliwo okujanjaba nga kuno kwetuliko. Tetunafuna ddagala erittira ddala akawuka butereevu, naye bwe tuwanirira omubiri nituguweereza kino nituguweereza kiri, omubiri kigwetaaga. Omubiri gwo Katonda, omanyi Katonda yatutonda ku lw'omukaaga amaze okutonda biri ebirala byonna yatwala omutawaana nno ate natuweereza obusobozi kati omubiri gwaffe bwe tuguwanirira gwo gwokka guyinza okutta akawuka bano bona abawona bwe bawonye sidagala amadagala getubawadde agasse akawuka naye okuwanirira omubiri gwo ne guwangula akawuka. That is the second way of treatment. The third way is to avoid, okwewala. And we have told you how to avoid the disease by not shaking hands, by wearing masks, not touching the soft parts of your body, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, washing hands with soap and sanitizers, social distancing, avoiding crowding your population groups, etc., etc. The last is the biblical. Bible mu kitabu kya Luka luli nakibasomera abagenge bwe bajja bayimirira wala. That's what it says. 2,000 years ago. Mu kitabu kya Luka essuula 17 ennyiriro okuva ku lwa 11 okutuusa 19 nti abagenge bwe bajja bayimirira wala ne boogera n'eddoboozi eddene because they were shouting to be heard because they were far. This is in the Bible 2,000 years ago. Okwewala okulwanyisa endwadde tuyita mu kwewala. Then waliwo kawaali abanyankole gye bayita omuze oba ebikata obwa 1893 bajjajjange baaliwo abamu bawona obulwadde obwo babulwanyisa okuva mu 1 okwewala, 2 immunity yaabwe okubeera n'omubiri ogw'amaanyi okusobola okulwanyisa akawuka. And they did that without a vaccine, without treatment in 1893. Abazungu baali bavumbudde empiso ey'okugema Mr. Jenner in 1796. Lwaki emyaka 10 gyali giyiseewo naye ne mu Africa ebyeddagala ly'okugema twali tetubimanyi. So obulwadde obwakawaali twabulwanyisa kifuba okuyita mu kwewala. As I told you last time, our scientists and the scientists of other countries are feverishly working on the vaccine. Our scientists with government support are also working on producing the diagnostics by ourselves, the PCR, the RRA, which means rapid RNA assay is a test, and the antibody tests. These tell us who is and who was infected, which fact guides our subsequent actions. Our scientists are also working on the discovery of specific antiviral medicines. The solution of the vaccine and the solution of a specific antiviral treatment are for the future, and our scientists are working on the two options with government support. What is in our hands now are the two solutions. Treating by supporting the body to kill the virus, and defeat it, and avoiding the virus as described above in this document, or as is described in the numerous other documents. It is the preventive measures by avoidance that necessitated the need for the lockdown. The lockdown was to enhance the avoiding, to enhance the strategy of avoiding. Mulwane muyita mukwewala lutwalangirira kubanga amakuba amalala gaali teganatereera bulungi. The lockdown enabled us to locate where the danger was coming from and also to gain time to build up capacity for doing the treatment that is possible today by helping the body to defeat the virus. That is how the 72 that got healed defeated the virus. During this time of the lockdown, we have created the hospital bed capacity of 2,000. These are the ones dedicated to this virus. The hospital beds are more, but those dedicated to this are 2,000 now. The hospitals. But we can quickly scale up the treatment by building tents in some places, and if it became necessary, we could scale up to even 40,000 beds. If we were to assume a bad situation, like the ones we have seen in some of the other countries, where they needed about 40,000, 50,000 beds at any one time, that assumption guides our planning. Okwekengera si butiitiizi. When we plan for the worst, it doesn't mean that we are cowards. Okukurwana. Therefore, I am confident that in whatever direction the disease evolves, we can overcome it. Why am I confident? We have quite a number of doctors. Within Uganda, forget about those ones who went for a KU. I don't count those. They went to treat others. But the ones who are here, they are 4,372 in government and private hospitals. If it became necessary, we can mobilize these. And then we have got 70,161 nurses. This is very crucial because one doctor in one shift can look after a 300-bed hospital. But he needs about 30 nurses in one shift. So if it is 2 shifts, that means that he needs about 60. So if you assume that we had a big problem and we needed to use 40,000 beds, those 40,000 beds can be broken up into a number of 300-bed field hospitals made up of tents, apart from the beds in the hospitals. Now that means that we need about 133 field hospitals, each one looked after by 2 doctors and 60 nurses. And if we were to total up, you'll find that we need a total of 266 doctors and 8,000 nurses. So we are getting ready to deal with this problem. In the short run, therefore, if these two solutions, it is these two solutions that are in our hands: avoiding the disease by taking all the preventive measures as directed, and treatment by helping the body to fight the virus. In the latter, our doctors control the fever, they give hydroxychloroquine, vitamin C, zinc, etc. There's also some talk of the importance of vitamin D in building up the body immunity. I saw some of the researchers on TV saying that one reason the countries of Europe, the Americas, and Asia have been so much affected by the virus could have been the deficiency of vitamin B, which in our health science Cambridge School Certificate studies of 1964, we used to describe as anti-rachitis, anti-rickets, emtego, that's what we call them. These researchers are now additionally saying that it is also very important in preventing what our doctors are calling the cytokine storm. Cytokine storm. This means the panic reaction of the body to an invasion by the virus, in this case, by producing a lot of body defense soldiers, but that those soldiers are deployed massively in a disorganized way, leading to those friendly soldiers damaging our own infrastructure, buildings, computers, furniture, etc. In the human body, this panic reaction and deployment would damage the body organs such as the lungs, the kidneys, the heart, and the liver. This is similar to the situation of people with allergy, whose body system overreacts and causes inflammation in the nasal cavity, in the throat, the ears, and the lungs. However, this is very severe and affects other organs other than those of the respiratory system. Vitamin D apparently regulates and disciplines the reaction of the body defense system. The researchers seem to be saying that the panic responses could be the ones killing the victims rather than the virus itself. It is important to know that vitamin D comes from exposure to the sun for at least 7 hours per week. Recall that the lockdown that started on the 18th of March, and we started relaxing it recently on the 19th of May 2020, was designed to achieve 3 things. Number 1, to avoid infection of our people as much as possible. Number 2, to know where the danger is coming from. And number 3, to prepare better to do the doable as of now on the side of treatment. We can then wait for the vaccine and the more specific medicine that can attack the virus. Remember that the lockdown is not and should not be for blocking the spread of the virus completely. Given so many neighboring countries with which we are not coordinating with maximally as yet, it is neither possible nor desirable to stop the spread of the virus completely. You see, the virus, if it spreads in a controlled way, and even if it infects some people and they are treated and they are cured, that means they get immunity. They get immunity. So our community is actually stronger by having those people who have been attacked by the virus, then they recover. That means they have the antibodies to fight that disease. What is possible and desirable is what we have done, and that is to delay the spread of the virus and get time to prepare better, as we have done and as we are continually doing. We are now able to manufacture masks, to manufacture sanitizers within the country, and soon we shall be making the testing kits. We are also creating more hospital beds for treating the virus. The lockdown, however, cannot and should not continue indefinitely. This is because the lockdown affects sections of the economy, it affects educational work, it affects social activities, it affects spiritual activities. However, the lockdown has helped us to keep the infections low, now standing at a total of 457, as already pointed out. It has enabled us to prepare better and successfully treat 72 of the infected and got them healed. We also know where the main enemies were coming from, some of the returnees and the truck drivers. What would have happened had we added on public transport, nightclubs, bars, saloons, and churches and mosques, schools, political meetings, cultural gatherings, social gatherings, etc.? What would have happened if we were still allowing all those to hold the activities as they wished? We would by now have seen a tragedy, possibly worse than the ones we have seen in Asia, Europe, and the Americas. A total of 457 and no death after 75 days of direct battle with the virus is good. We have done well. Moreover, all that happening when the agriculture of Uganda is fully functional, some of the industries are producing, some of the services are operating, we have been able to defeat the locusts, we have defeated the floating islands that were threatening our electricity dams, and we have been able to cope with the rising waters of Lake Victoria by opening for more water at Jinja, from 600 cubic meters per second of water to 2,400 cubic meters per second. And like in 1964, when they could only release a maximum of 1,300 cubic meters per second. We have been able to send relief to the flood and landslide victims in Kasese, and we have been able to feed a total of 1.8 million Ugandans with 12 million kilograms of milk powder to the lactating mothers and 300,000 kilograms of sugar and etc. The food, we shall continue giving food. Some people thought that we have stopped. No, we have finished one phase, and we shall resume with the areas like Wakiso and other areas. But even in Kampala, where we started from, we may come back because, remember, our main support is for the Katara people who work on Katara. I give you a piece of work to do. If you do it, I pay you. If you don't, I don't pay you. They don't depend on regular salary. They depend on doing what you are told to do. Leja. So when they don't work, they don't get paid. And that's why they need a special support. So these 1.8 million Ugandans have received 20 million kilograms of maize flour, 6 million kilograms of beans, 22,500 kilograms of milk powder to the lactating mothers, 300,000 kilograms of sugar, etc. The lockdown has been one of the defense weapons that have helped us to survive and limit the danger. However, it is a weapon that must be used with care because it paralyzes many activities that we depend on for livelihood and prosperity. That is why, since the 19th of May, we started the gradual opening up of the lockdown with the following measures. Number one, the shops selling general merchandise were allowed to open, provided they were not in the shopping malls, the shopping arcades, and food markets. We could not allow the opening of these because we thought it was impossible to observe the social distancing in these shopping malls or arcades. That is why we thought that they should remain closed for now. As for the markets, we should not allow the mixing of selling food and non-food items again until we get a vaccine or a clear treatment for this virus. You have seen how separating food selling from the non-food operations has helped us to go through the bad phase of this crisis. We should maintain it. The non-arcade and non-shopping mall shops that were allowed to open had to always observe the rules of social distancing all the time. Do not allow in many shoppers at the same time. Let them line outside, keeping the 2 meters distance and come in the shop one by one. Secondly, the heroic market women that had been sleeping in the market, in the workplace, the market in this case, for all those days, were allowed to go home and come back to work daily if they wanted, if they so preferred. Number three, we shall now allow the regulated opening of the public bus means of transport, such as the minibuses, buses, taxis, provided they carry only 1/2 of their normal capacity, plus the conductor and the driver. We hope this can enable public transport travel again without the usual overcrowding, which is very dangerous during such times as these. Remember that with the danger of this epidemic, the safest modes of transport are bicycling, using a piki-piki if you are not carrying a passenger, walking, or if you have a private car. Especially the bicycles, they are good for health and also for the environment. We do not want to see brokers and hawkers in these bus parks and car parks for now. With the permitting of the public transport, exception was made for the 40 districts that are next to our neighboring countries. These districts are indicated in the tables below. They are there. There are some from Acholi, Ankole, Buganda, Bukede, Bunyoro, Wijisu, Karamoja, Sebe, Renzo, Western Nile, Kiyezi. Neither public transport nor private vehicles will be allowed to move around these districts for the next 21 days, the districts near the border. Why? It is because infiltrations from the neighboring countries is still a serious pressure. With public and private transport in those border districts, that infiltration will be that much more facilitated. That infiltration can undo everything we have achieved. A few sick people from the neighboring countries using the first means of either private or public transport can easily get to the big population centers where identification is difficult. That is why we should not as yet allow the relaxation of the restrictions on both public and private transport in those border districts. Since it is impossible to space out the passengers and the border rider, for now, the borders and the tukutukus will not be allowed to carry passengers. They should continue to carry cargo as they have been doing during the time of the lockdown. Bars, nightclubs, gyms, saunas, public swimming pools, and hair salons, since they cannot easily observe the rules of Tonsembele, Rotampika, Luo, Bed Mabor, Ki Lawoti, and so on, they will not be allowed to open for another 21 days, those gyms and saunas. 6, the international borders of Uganda and the airport will remain closed to passengers and passenger cars, so that we do not import additional cases from outside. With education, we had thought that the only possible safe action we can do now is to open for the end of education phases candidate classes. These are the P7s, the S4s, the S6, the undergraduate finalists, the tertiary college finalists, and the postgraduate finalists. There will be no first-term examination in the schools. That was assuming they had opened. We had hoped that the schools would use all the time to prepare for end-of-year final examinations. By opening for only the candidate classes, we had hoped that there would be enough space in the educational premises to avoid overcrowding and observe the social distancing of 2 meters from person to person. And yet the concerned learners would not have missed that crucial stage in their educational journey. The rest of the learners were supposed to be patient. We had thought that the educational institutions needed 2 weeks to prepare. Therefore, the date of opening had been proposed as the 4th of June 2020. Since we are not allowing either private or public transport in the border districts, we had intended that special arrangements would be made for candidates from those areas that needed to go outside their districts for continuing with their studies. Number 8, curfew will continue from 1900 hours, which is saa moja ya usiku, until 6:30 hours, which the poor English of Ugandans say saa 12:30. No, this one is correct. Saa 12:30 za usiku. The Ugandans would say asubuhi. They are trying to be like Europeans. The Banyankwere day is 12 days of light and 12 days of of darkness. 1, 2, up to 12, 1, 2, up to 12. But in Europe, they start counting morning from midnight. Umuitumbi warufusi. They say it is morning. You can't believe it. And we also follow. So banana. The TV people are always embarrassed by my coffee. Why are you embarrassed by my coffee? Akatari kabbe ama uomba ulio usura kumulyango. The Uganda proverb. When you are eating a chicken which is yours, which you have not stolen, you throw the bones there. So when they come and say, they know that you slaughtered your chicken. Hotels and food restaurants were allowed to open as long as the clients observed social distancing and there was no air conditioning which spread the virus. Number 10, people with private cars were allowed to drive as long as the car did not carry more than 3 people, including the driver. If you had enough time and space, it may have been better to restructure transport in the towns so as to emphasize bicycles, buses, trains, in addition to private cars. When there is a health crisis like this one, these means are safer than the others with proper regulation. The KCCA and the Ministry of Transport should study how this can be done. We should have lanes for vehicles and lanes for pikipikis, lanes for vehicles and pikipikis, lanes for bicycles, and lanes for pedestrians. And there should be no mixing of the 3. The phenomenon of pikipikis driving on sidewalks meant for pedestrians will no longer be allowed. However, this relaxation of restrictions on the private transport does not extend to the 40 border districts. In those measures, there was one aspect that was apparently not clearly understood. I hear that some enforcers are stopping shops on Nasa and Nkurumah roads from operating, yet they are standalone shops. Therefore, all concerned should ensure that those shops open and operate, unless they have got some other reasons which they should tell us. Adding to the relaxation measure that I announced on the 19th of May 2020, I now add the following measures. Number 1, with effect from the 4th of June 2020, we shall allow the resumption of operations of the public transport means of buses, passenger trains within Uganda, and taxis, provided they only carry 50% of the load, plus 1 conductor, as already mentioned above, and plus, of course, a driver. This is in order to maintain social distancing even as we reopen public transport. The value of the conductor is that he or she is the one who opens and closes doors for the passengers. He's the one who sanitizes the passengers embarking. He's the one who sanitizes the poor door handles. All the passengers, the driver, and the conductor must wear the masks covering the nose and the mouth all the time. In my speech on the 19th of May, I had talked about the opening of the schools for the candidate classes, P7, S4, S6, undergraduate finalists, postgraduate finalists, and tertiary institutions finalists after the 4th of June. We have further studied this idea, led by our scientists. The eventual opinion is that we better act cautiously on the issue of our grandchildren and the children in the educational system. This is because there are still many risks. The different categories of finalists are a total of 1.4 million children and students. We do not yet have enough testing kits for those numbers, especially for testing those numbers every 2 weeks to know who is carrying the virus and who is not if they are asymptomatic, if they do not show signs. We have the machines for testing. The problem is the reagents. There is a global shortage of supply because the demand is too big. Everybody in the world is trying to test, and we are developing our own capacity. That is the medium and the long-term answer. Even if we could test all the finalists, there will still be the issue of the day scholars that oscillate between the schools and the homes every day. There are a lot of risks in that exercise, that situation. Even for the boarding schools, there are the workers and the teachers that will not stay in the school compound and oscillate between homes and the schools. Those have got a lot of risks. We have therefore decided that we should not buy too much at a time. Enkoko eshondakera amiri. The hen pecks what it can swallow. Opening for the private cars, even with restrictions. Opening for the public transport, even with the accompanying restrictions, have already unleashed a big number of people who have started moving around in the town. Let us first of all see the impact of that before we add on the learners. We have therefore decided to postpone the opening of the schools for the candidate learners for another 1 month as we prepare more and study more the situation. Nevertheless, our children must continue studying through distance learning by radio and TV. Distance learning may turn out to be better because many learners can benefit from the few excellent teachers that can reach the many through the radio and the TV. The only problem is that according to the census of 2014, the home states that had TV sets were only 1 million, and those with radio sets were 3.4 million. We are therefore going to provide I have tasked the Prime Minister and the technical teams to see how to solve that issue of distance learning. Mia had some idea about 2 television sets per village. And you remember the villages are 70,000 in Uganda. That's a bit on the higher side, that's 65,000. But even if you say 70,000, if we were to provide 2 television sets per village, that would mean 140,000 TV sets where the children can watch and read lessons. But some people are pointing out that if you give 1 TV or 2 per village, that will bring the children congregating. But I'm saying that children from the same village, if they have sickness, it will have already shown up. So you should study that. Then there's the issue of the radios. Radios are simpler. You can give each house its radio, provided by the government. But the problem with the radio is that you hear, you don't see. And in the television, the advantage is that you see. It is as if you are in the classroom. You hear and you also see. So you think about all this, and we say, but we have already agreed that distance learning must be done. The only people, what they are discussing now is the how, the best how. We appeal to the churches and the mosques to remain closed and use long-distance preaching method through the TV and radios. Just like the educational institutions, let us first see how the opening of private transport and public transport work out before plunging deeper into the global relaxation. You heard of the church in South Korea where all the members got infected. The priests involved will not qualify for heaven, according to me. Besides, I would have arrested them. The church is called Shini Chonji. Number 5, political public meetings, cultural, sports public meetings, etc. should also hold on. Shopping malls are joined but spacious, unlike the arcades, which are numerous and congested. Starting with the 4th of June 2020, therefore, the shopping malls will be allowed to open, provided they observe social distancing. The experts think that they have enough space for social distancing. Number 7, the boda-bodas and the tuk-tukus are agitating to be allowed to carry passengers. This is irresponsible, to say the least. The boda-boda rider is too close to the passenger. Such a situation cannot be accepted. We cannot risk the lives of our people for the sake of business interests. The boda-bodas are, of course, not an efficient means of public transport. Boda-bodas transporting citizens of Uganda is like to have supper, the real African supper, with a kajiko, kachai, teaspoon. It is an inefficient way of transport, carries few people, making many trips, and overcrowding the city. This was bad enough without the virus. Before the virus came, kana kajiko. The kajiko was really creating a lot of problems because you see, with the teaspoon, how many times will you put in the dish? And you get small, you get small. The Wanyankole say you end up swallowing the wind. No, when you try to swallow and there's nothing, you swallow wind. That's why babies sometimes belch, because they swallow wind. So it was an inefficient system. But we were keeping quiet because, but now with the virus, please. the virus now is not the time to be polite. No. Now with the virus, we cannot continue with this menace. The least the borders can do is simply to keep quiet and wait for the disease to be over. Besides, I'm now told that contrary to what we thought, the borders are not owned by the riders, that they are actually owned by rich people that own scores of these items. It is those rich people that create traffic jams, increase pollution, and are now agitating for endangering our people with spreading the virus by not seeing the logic of stopping them from transporting people for now. All the other measures remain in force as previously directed. Remember the guidelines of avoiding the virus. They are: do not get near anybody coughing, cholera, or sneezing, do not shake hands or hug, do not touch your mouth, your nose, your eyes with unwashed hands. Regularly sanitize all the surfaces that are touched by many people, tabletops, door handles, chairs, armrests, microphones, etc. Wash your hands with soap and water or use sanitizers regularly. Number 6, using the face masks of Kokoro. The masks are 3 types: the N95, which is for the people working in the intensive care units of the hospital. The surgical masks are for medical people. And the ordinary mask. It is the ordinary mask that is useful because it is a double folded cloth with a soft chiffon layer. A soft chiffon layer in the middle. Every day you can remove the tissue or the polypropylene sheet, wash the mask and iron it with a hot flat iron. The viruses will die. This mask must be worn all the time you are in public and must cover the mouth and the nose, whether you are sneezing, coughing, talking, or just breathing normally. It is a very crucial instrument of prevention. Therefore, all Ugandans of 6 years and above must wear masks when in public. The government will begin supplying the government-provided ones on the 10th of June 2020. We were supposed to supply them by the 4th, but because the factories had to mobilize, we missed the schedule slightly, but the factories have now started. They may not produce enough for the whole country, but whatever they produce, we shall put it in where it is needed the most. We shall start with the border districts. Especially like Amuru, the one which is near South Sudan, like Mutukura, like Katuna. We can start with those by giving them masks. Start there, and then we go sub-county by sub-county. If you have not yet got the right mask, stay at home. I've been here at home for most of these 75 days. I don't go anywhere. Keeping social distances of at least 2 meters in public. Tonsembelela. good nutrition, including eating foods like fruits, oranges, and so on, carrots, vegetables, proteins, meat, fish, beans, to get sufficient source of vitamin D and other vitamins. But with the vitamin D, spend at least 1 hour in the sun per day. And then finally, stay home if necessary. Don't have to go anywhere. I emphasize that we are not relaxing the lockdown measures because the danger is gone. In fact, danger is still with us. More Ugandans are getting the virus. Therefore, it is our individual and collective responsibility to keep away from the virus so that we keep the numbers of those who are infected low at any one time so that we can successfully care for them without the numbers overwhelming our hospital beds. This is what happened in some of the other countries. That was one reason so many people died in some of the countries. By observing the avoidance measures strictly, treating successfully the few that get infected, and continuing to grow the real economy, agriculture, industry, ICT, some of the services, we shall not only contain the virus, but also expand our prosperity base for the future. In the coming month, we may get a vaccine or a cure. In the meantime, as you have seen above, the biggest number of the new cases is from the truck drivers, especially those coming back from South Sudan. Out of the total number of 457 cases, 277 are Ugandan truck drivers, and 235 of them are the Ugandan drivers returning from South Sudan. We noticed this some weeks ago. When we checked with the drivers, they claimed that South Sudan soldiers are forcing them to carry passengers when they cross in South Sudan. I talked to His Excellency Salva Kiir. I am sure he acted. I now hear that it is these drivers who now voluntarily carry passengers to make some money. That is how they get infected and put a burden on treating them on their country. What should we do with this irresponsible behavior? Should we treat these people and prosecute them afterwards? If everybody did his part, this virus can be defeated. It is the carelessness or the greed for money, even in the face of danger, that are the main enemy. Now, there are 4,000 people who were arrested at the beginning of this lockdown because they didn't follow the regulations. I have discussed with the Attorney General, and the other day I also mentioned it to the DPP. I would like those people to review those people, and if they find nothing serious, to release them, so that they stop staying in jail. I want to thank the farmers for continuing to do agriculture and feeding the country. I also want to thank the factory owners and operators because they are really doing their work all the time. Some of our scientists have told me that there is complacency among the population. That's very dangerous. I think the Honorable Nawakoba needs to show them the other picture from some of these places so that you see how many people are dying. So please stop complacency the virus is still around and you can be a target. As I said, the provision of food will continue. We have just finished one phase, we shall continue. But I appeal to you to stop telling lies when you are handling this issue of getting whatever you are getting from the government. Don't misinform the government. Don't say I didn't get when you got. Because that's the one which complicates the work of the ones who are distributing. The distance you should keep between one person and another person should be 2 meters. I've been using 4, but I think the consensus is now on 2. The 40 districts, the one we talk about, should also include some of the islands. The islands, because many of the islands actually form the border with the neighboring countries. The border is not only on the dry land, it is even in the water, both on Lake Victoria and in Edward and in Albert. They are all on the border. So they should always be borne in mind. So I thank you and wish you good luck. Okay, anything else?